Hey everybody, welcome to the FreeMind Podcast. We have Ashleigh Early, the founder of The Other Side of Sales and a fascinating expat currently living in Netherlands. Let's check out her story.
I'm the founder of Other Side of Sales Consulting, and we came into existence in January 2020. So we're just into our fourth year of existence, or my fourth year of existence doing this. We started off as just Ashleigh Early LLC, and we did a rebranding earlier this year to the Other Side of Sales brand, which actually started as a podcast. And then I shut the podcast down last year, but people still know me as Ashleigh from Other Side of Sales. So I figured might as well pull that over into the consulting side of the house.
So how has that been since you transitioned over into the consulting side? What types of industries are you working with currently?
Yeah, so predominantly tech companies, but I've worked with several I've done several in the medical space, medical devices, stuff like that, and several in the healthcare and logistics space as well. So.
And did I read correctly? You're in the Netherlands currently?
I am.
Awesome. Why can I ask some very cultural questions that I just have to ask?
Bring it on. I love these. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Bikes.
Yeah.
Is it really bike traffic jams? Yeah.
It's every video you've seen of Amsterdam is absolutely like that. I refuse to ride a bike in Amsterdam. I'm terrified of it. Yeah. But the town that I live is like a mid-sized, it's like a Burlingame to a San Francisco. Like there's a city, but like you can get across it in 15 minutes on a bike. And I don't drive in town. I ride my bike everywhere.
Nice.
And it's delightful and it's no problems. I'm not scared. And the thing is, because everybody rides bikes, it's really safe because even when you drive, the drivers ride bikes. So we know to look out for kids and everything like that. Plus, it's actually remarkably hard to get a driver's license. Actually, I'd say most of the expats I know that live here actually don't have driver's licenses because you have to either get it brought over as a part of basically the type of visa that you're on, and only certain visas get it. Thank God I did. Or you have to go through the Dutch driver's license program, which can take like a year and is actually hard to pass. So that's it's crazy. The sort of thing. Actually, yeah, it's crazy.
That's really cool though. That I wouldn't think about it that way. That since it's so prevalent as biking, you're thinking about them driving, whereas here most of us are not avid bikers. Therefore, we don't think about anybody else on the road but ourselves.
I never rode my boat. I never rode a bike in the States, like ever. Mm-hmm. Since I was like a kid, which was really funny when I got here. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I had to remind myself how to shift. It was a whole thing. But I will say the thing that no one tells you about with the bikes in Amsterdam is if you want to be like a true Dutchie, you fall into one of two categories. And it's hysterical because my husband and I perfectly fit into the opposite category. You either have a really nice, like high-end bike because you live on it and you want to be really nice, or you have an absolute POS because you know it's not going to get stolen and you don't have to worry about locking it. My husband has the nice bike. I have the POS. Because I don't want to stress about it getting stolen or something. So like, it's like my Dutch friends have bikes. They put stickers on it. They'll intentionally make it look rusty. You know, it's a whole thing.
I would have the one that was a piece of shit as well. Trust me.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to have to worry about it or figure it out.
With sunglasses. One time I bought a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses for $2.99 at a kiosk in a mall. And I thought I was the coolest person in the world. And I was at a bar. And within 5 minutes of me buying them and then going to the bar for happy hour, someone stole them off the bar top. And ever since then, I've had a $19.99 threshold for any sunglasses that I buy.
The only reason I'm not in the category with you is polarization. And yeah, you can get those sometimes, but like especially for women, like it's a bit of a thing. But yeah, I've got about a $200 limit. But the nice thing is for women, at least we have purses.
Valid
so
point.
It's like off bag purse, no big deal. But yeah, my bigger thing is I break them so easily and I drop them and everything else. So like I'll even get ones like I don't get, that's why it's like 200, but I can usually get 2 or 3 years out of them before I scratch them beyond belief.
Yeah, it's that, and I sit on them as well, right in the driver's seat when I get in. The other question I have about the culture while I have you here, because I don't get to talk to very many people from over there. I've been told that my personality being very direct, it would get along very well there. Is that not a generality?
It's very true.
Nice.
But my favorite, my best example of this is, I mean, you said the vibe is hanging out at a coffee shop. So I'm very open about this. I'm on a form of birth control that is an implant in my arm. I've been on it for over a decade, and it's the sort of thing that has to be replaced every 3 years. You go in, they inject some lidocaine, make a little like 1 centimeter incision, pull it out, replace the rod. No big deal. I mean, it's not nothing. It's uncomfortable as heck, but all things considered, it works for me. In the States, every time I'd go in to have it done, and I had it done in 3 different states. So different doctors, whole things. Every time like, it shouldn't hurt a bit at all. And then they're pulling and tugging and there's bleeding and da-da-da-da-da. It's a whole thing. Like my husband's big, tough hockey player. Like at one point his knees got a little weak and they made him sit down because he was like, what are they doing to your arm? They're like, well, it's kind of stuck. We'll get it. And I'm like, I'm not looking. Don't vomit. I'm not looking. Yeah. I do it here. The doctor's like, this is probably going to hurt. Please don't move. And I was just like, thank you. Just be honest with me. That's very, it is a very direct culture. And but it's kind of like, I kind of complain, it's kind of like a weird inverse to Southern hospitality, where Southern hospitality, everyone's very, very nice until they say, bless your heart, and are really telling you to F off. The Dutch are the exact opposite of that. They are direct to a point, but it's actually a form of kindness. More often than not, there are always exceptions, but more often than not, it's just direct as a form of kindness. This is what it is. Are you interested? No, I don't want to go out. I'm tired. No, I don't really need to see you again so soon. Okay, great. No worries.
I've been told because exactly that, because my intent is also when I'm direct with people, it's an efficiency as well as I just want to be direct with somebody. But I've been told recently, understanding that I'm 6'3" and almost 300 pounds, that sometimes when somebody's in person and I'm direct, it doesn't come out exactly the same way. So I'm trying to be more cognizant of that. Yeah.
I'll give you something else you'd like about the Netherlands. They are genuinely taller.
Okay, there you go.
Holy cow. Like you read the stats, but then you come here and you're like, how are in the States, I'm just under 5'6". So I say I'm 5'6". And I regularly, when I'm in the office, I'm in 2 3-inch heels. In the office, I was regularly one of the taller women. So, okay, no problem, whatever. And I'm not tall, but I'm taller. I'm short here. Genuinely short. It's a thing. It's really interesting. My husband loves it. He thinks it's hysterical. But the problem is that my husband, I mentioned hockey player. So he's so excited. Everything's longer. The problem is everything's longer and narrower.
Oh yeah.
So he's got chest and legs. So he keeps having to order sizes up to go wide enough. And it's interesting. But yeah, they actually genuinely are taller. It's a thing.
When you got over there, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make?
Kitchens. Tiny kitchens. I don't have a fridge. I have an ice box. It's like one of those like fridges that can fit underneath a table like we had in college.
Okay.
So completely changed how we eat. There's no big shopping runs anymore. It's like you go to the store and you buy 2-3 days of food at most.
Interesting. Okay.
There's no pantries. There's no fridge. Some places, a lot of people do have fridges. Just the apartment I'm in doesn't. That took, honest to God, about 2 years to really kind of break some of the American habits.
Is it like New York City? You don't have the square footage for the fridge, and that's why. Okay, gotcha. Yep, gotcha.
Very much. It's very much that, but it's a weird form of eco-consciousness that comes into everything. They are very eco-friendly. They are very big into recycling, waste management, all that stuff. And they price it accordingly. So energy is more expensive, water is more expensive, power is more expensive, gas is more expensive. And a lot of people, something like 40% of the population, including us, opts to pay a slightly higher rate than normal so we can specifically get green energy on top of it. And a huge number of people do it because, nice. I can do it. It's good. So there's a lot of that.
But they make it convenient for you, which is what it comes down to at the end of the day, is more people would participate in things like that if it was made convenient. You didn't have to go through grant processes and applications to get your credit back. No,
it's really easy. They make it painfully easy. I have a friend who just bought a house and they got, I think 15 or 20 grand from the government to do energy upgrades to the house as a part of the purchase process. No problem.
That's
super
wild.
easy.
So what,
granted, that house that they bought was built, I think, in the 1910s and was last upgraded in the 1950s.
Wow.
So, because it was an old couple who just built in the 50s and lived their whole lives there. And I think the husband died. And so the wife went into a nursing home and the kids sold it. But it literally hadn't been touched since the 50s. So it needed some work. But that's nice. Like the government's like, no, we're invested in leaving that house as it is and just go fix it up. So we'll help subsidize it. So it's it's really interesting. You can tell the priorities, but like you said, like with the fridge, it is really easy to get fresh food. Like shockingly easy. I feel a little bit bad. My friends are all complaining about the cost of groceries. And I'm like, I can still get eggs for €3 and they used to be $2.50 and people are complaining. Like genuinely complaining. That is the other thing that makes you get along very well with the Dutch if you consider complaining a sport.
Wow.
It is absolutely a sport. Nothing is ever good enough. It really should be better. There's no excuse for that. Always. Everything must be complained about. It is a thing.
I don't think I could handle that part.
That's the part that I still like culturally. I'm like, I'm just so like, this comes up a lot when we bring up healthcare, when I talk with Dutchies. They love being called Dutchies. But I've done this a couple times at bars. I'll be like, all right, if you can get within $100 of what I paid per month for healthcare in the States, I'll buy you a drink. And if you can't, you have to buy me a drink. I think we've gotten 10 or 15 drinks off this because no one ever comes close. They're all like, oh, €300. I'm like, oh, that's adorable. That was my deductible. Exactly. And like, oh, you pay that once a year. I'm like, no, I pay that once a month. Yeah. So, but one of the things I talked about, I'll mention like how much it was, how expensive it was, how hard it was to access care, stuff like that. And they always come back with, oh, but did you hear they're raising the premium here? Did you hear they're raising the national deductible? Did you hear they're raising that $10 this year? Did you hear that you really shouldn't have to wait 3 months for this sort of thing? I'm like, I will take these problems. I will take those problems. I'm sorry, I'm not getting into that complaining war. I will happily take these problems. But yeah, it's fun.
Awesome. So what brought you out there? And we can go as deep as you want.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there's the short story and there's the long story. The short story is Trump.
Let's go with the long one. I want to hear. Yeah.
The short story is Trump. The longer story, the mid-range story is basically my husband and I have wanted to live in Europe pretty much as long as we've been together, which is, I could say, unfortunately. My husband and I have been together since 2006. So we met very young. We met in college and but worked very hard, but touch wood, somehow stuck it out. But we always wanted to move to Europe. And I tried that through corporate channels for 10 years, never worked. Actually, right before I started my consulting business, the reason why I started my consulting business was I got laid off for the 5th time in 3 years. And I was like, okay, that's enough of corporate America for a while. I'll just do consulting. The economy's looking great. It's a new year. It's 2020. I'll just do consulting for 3-6 months, get my feet under me, and then figure out what I want to do next. Yeah, that worked well. Very, very luckily for me, in launching my consulting business, I got a lot of business very quickly. And then because of that, I was able to access some of the PPP loans, which was amazing, especially as a new business. Basically, I got to use that as seed money to set everything up and get taxes and everything set up properly. So that was a godsend. But then at the same time, because I had been in territories as a sales professional that had experienced natural disasters, I also got to go and tell the story about, hey, if I can navigate, having New York to a full quota within 3 months of Superstorm Sandy, we can handle a little pandemic. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And especially talking about how we're handling it, like handling it through empathy, handling it through working smarter, handling it by working based on trust, teaching managers how to go from managing in office to managing remote, managing based on trust, but verify, stuff like that. So I was able to get a lot more consulting business doing that. In the middle of all of that, my husband discovered there's a program that they have in the Netherlands called DAFT. It's called the Dutch American Friendship Treaty. And it's a program that basically says if you are an entrepreneur or self-employed and want to move to the Netherlands, you can pay, it's about $1,000 application fee, euros, and you have to deposit 4,500 euros into a bank account, basically as security against possible taxes. And they will give you a visa. You just have to work for yourself. So we decided in the middle of the pandemic that we were going to do that. And then we realized that we couldn't do that because you can only get into that program once you're in the country, and they weren't letting anyone into the country during the pandemic. So my husband very graciously decided, you know what, I'll go back to grad school. So he got in. So basically he got us in on a student visa, and I'm keeping us here on a DAFT visa.
Nice.
So that's how we ended up here. And the real crazy part of that story is neither of us had ever been to the Netherlands.
Oh, that was my next question.
So this was a pure COVID panic. The world's upside down and we need to get out. And so we did. So, and what's even better about the story is we actually left the US on a flight out of Dulles Airport on January 8th, which means on January 6th, we were sitting in a hotel airport waiting for our visa to come through, panicking, going, please, dear God, don't shut down the airport. Please don't shut.
But also validating why you're leaving.
A bit. Yeah. And we actually saw people in full getup at the airport, and I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. It was a whole thing. Thank God they didn't. We got out. It was fine. Flight over was great. Flight over was empty. It was amazing. We had a whole row, which was great considering it was us and 2 dogs on the plane with us. The boys took it like champs, and then we settled in, and it was 6 months of chaos trying to figure out how to live in Europe. So.
I just you painted that picture with Dulles, and I was reading yesterday that some of the clowns in our world here on the other side are trying to change the name of Dulles to Donald Trump Airport, and I made a comment under one of the things that everybody was like, "Oh, why can't we focus on other things?" And I'm like, you know what? As long as it includes a one-way ticket out a departure, I think we should just let him name whatever airport he wants. You know.
Yeah.
I could spend a long time talking about that, and I can tell you can too. And I want to first off say that I really admire, and one of the reasons I wanted to get on a conversation with you is because I admire you taking the principled action that you took. And I know that while as much as you tell the story with the romance and the positivity, I know that it was a very challenging decision that anybody could have made, especially in a relationship and with animals and everything else, as complicated as that is. You know,
it's a nightmare.
I respect it very much. I respect it so much that what you did. You know, it's a lot of us talk, and a lot of us do the armchair expert type things, and we campaign and keyboard crusade it. But I respect. So
no, and I also respect people who choose to stay. We did what was right for us, and we were lucky to have this option. And I'm very keenly aware that I am in the very rarefied air of people who actually have the ability. We had the cash. Did we liquidate our savings? Oh yeah. It was not easy, and it is not something for the faint of heart. And especially doing it the way that we did it, with minimal safety nets, with a self-employed business, not knowing Dutch. Everyone here speaks English, like 99%. But like, for example, it is Dutch law, because they have a lot of the same nationalist impulses that the US does. By law, all the tax documents have to be in Dutch. That's fun. Like, I literally can't even use Google Translate on their website. They've blocked it.
Oh, wow.
Fun fact. So there's, again, issues, but yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. And there was a lot of guilt that came with choosing to leave. It was like, well, shouldn't I stay here and fight? And what it really came down to, especially in 2020, was I want to stay and fight. I'm deeply political. I'm open about my political opinions. I work with people, for the record, who disagree with me.
Yep. So do I.
The people, yeah,
yep, exactly.
And that's totally fine. So I'm as open as I am. I do want to be very clear.
What we thought was being a humanist, the civil discourse of the world, which we used to.
Thank you. I've had a line for years. I say the most American thing you can do is disagree with me.
Yep.
Absolutely. You are allowed to disagree. You're not allowed to disrespect. And that's where I get really upset with people. But at the same time, there's a lot to be said for staying behind and fighting. There's a lot to be said for staying behind and participating. And so I still try to participate even from over here. But there comes a point where you have to do what's right for you. So I understand why people are stepping away from politics because it's too stressful. They're stepping away from the changes because it's scary and it's terrifying. And I understand that. I really understand that. My husband used to leave CNN on 24/7 in our house. And I had to tell him, like, you genuinely need to do this because my heart rate is up.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even hear this in passing. Can't do it. But whatever is right for you is what's right for you. And it's not up to anybody else to tell you what that is. And that's why I'm a Democrat and not a Republican. Because apparently they think it's their job to tell other people what's right for them.
So let's talk a little bit about for the consulting gig right now.
Yes.
For what you're doing right now, are you operating with a client base on both shores, or are you just quickly over there? And let's talk about that then. That's exciting. How is it balancing time zones and clients and cultures and everything like that?
It's a very specific skill set that I think a lot of people don't have, and I couldn't even tell you what the skill set is. I just know it works.
I appreciate that.
Like, I don't even know what advice I would give to other people if they wanted to do it, other than I would say two pieces of things. I would say this sort of work is good for you if you are naturally a night owl. But I get up around 10. If I have work with European clients, I might do a little bit of that in the morning. I generally take my afternoons off. So I'll go to those grocery stores. I'll go to the market. I'll go meet friends for lunch. I'll go get my hair done, whatever else needs to happen. Come back, settle in sometime between 4 and 6, depending on how much work I did in the morning. And I'll work until 10 to midnight, depending on how much work I've got. For time zone aficionados, midnight where I am is 6 o'clock East Coast and 3 p.m. Pacific. So I can still get most of the day. So when I work with people who are based in the States, I tell them just pretend I work EST hours. The one difference is I have a hard stop because I start falling asleep. And the other side of it is I try to do half days on Friday. So I try to do a 4.5 day worked week so I can actually go have a social life. But other than that, it tends to work. The biggest thing is the same thing we deal with any consulting gig. It's communication. So it's being upfront about, I am in this time zone. I go over here, but that means like there might be days where I'm not taking meetings after 8 because I know I have to get up the next day early for a doctor's appointment or something else. I need to make sure I sleep. So if you see a day that looks blocked, it's blocked for a reason. But if you have questions, call me. It's explaining that WhatsApp is a default mode of communication for little things here and there, but please don't use it as a default for chat. Let's use Slack or Teams for that. But if you need me, WhatsApp is a great way to get a response within an hour. Email is a nightmare because I have, I think, 10 emails at the moment. So send me the emails, but be aware I might not check it more than once a day. So that's where Slack or Teams is great to tell me to check email because I will come back. So going through all those things, I recently started using Asana a lot more heavily, which I'm still getting used to it. Still kind of figuring this out, but especially at the volume of clients I've got right now. Historically, I averaged between 2 and 4 clients. I currently got 7. So Asana has been a godsend for me to make sure I'm not dropping the ball anywhere with all the different things going on.
Absolutely. And you work in the hiring and kind of the hiring and work field in the HR as well, right? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I have 2 clients who are in the HR space right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that with that, how does all that changed kind of with? Are they? I try to ask this question. I know it's a very loaded question, so you can laugh. With the world of AI, let's say, sometimes we talk about in HR and everything like that. Like, how are they using AI and utilizing it in the HR realm? And is that even a conversation that's happening yet, or is it integrations and we?
It's interesting. I'm finding the more prevalent AI gets, the more conversations I'm hearing in the HR space. But it's interesting because I'm not actually seeing a lot of AI in the HR space itself. So for example, some of the AI tech companies I'm working with, they're using AI in, say, their sales and marketing motions, but they're not using it in the HR motions because they're more aware than most actually of the limits of AI, which is actually really cool. So for example, one of my clients is a company called Virgil HR, and they actually have a chat bot. And one of the first things we say on product demos is this is not an AI chatbot. This is a logic-based smart chatbot built by labor law experts. So that's one of the first things we say because we can just see the HR professionals go, when they hear chatbot, they're like, oh, no. It's logic-based. They built the trees. It's crazy impressive, but it can walk you through all this stuff. So, but I think the conversations around AI are making people more willing to look at other ways technology can help. So it's almost opening the door a bit where 2 years ago, if you want to talk to someone about chatbot, they're like, yeah, okay, I don't really need that. Now they're like, oh, well, I've seen what it can do over here. I don't trust it to do this, but oh, this is logic. Okay, I can talk to you about that. That makes sense. So it's raising the level of tech awareness that I think is slowly moving the needle a bit.
Do you find that that when it comes to, let's say, human resources or people management and things like that, are people starting to pay attention to that at a smaller scale than they were prior, or are they still all waiting for that regulatory time when they have to start paying attention to it? And a broad question, I know. Yeah.
I think honestly, I think it depends on their roles and what comes across their desk. So where I'm seeing it come into play, more people who are more open to adopting and looking at different things are the ones who are just up to their eyeballs and need some relief. They're like, anything, please throw me a lifeline. Or for example, I know this actually isn't one of my clients, but actually a friend of mine who works at a company. I know they're starting to deploy some AI in their, they were trying, one of their hiring managers had the genius idea to start screening resumes with AI. Which turned out to be a very bad idea because very quickly he was only interviewing straight white guys. Because and this is one of the things, like I said, HR professionals are aware AI as it is right now is actually pretty biased. So if you don't know how to control for that, you're going to end up with some interesting results. So they announced, so that led to that company in specific doing here's where you are allowed to use ChatGPT and here's where you are not.
That's always that's interesting. That's really interesting that's happening even in a black and white language level. I know certain things have happened from an image standpoint as well with a bias, but to know that, I didn't realize it also happens on the language side of things. Yeah, I'm very.
It's really easy if you think about, like, literally just look at who built it.
And it makes sense when you think about it. It's putting out what was put in. Yeah. So
and it'll take time. It'll correct. It'll figure itself out. I'm a huge sci-fi nerd, so I have like. I'm ready for Data. I'm ready for C-3PO. I'm ready for all my androids. Like I am not worried about this at all, but I'm also aware enough to understand we are nowhere near passing a Turing test. Yeah. Like people are like, oh my gosh, AI is coming for our jobs. I'm like, they're coming for the jobs that we're gonna go away anyway.
Right.
The same way, like 100 years ago, literally 100 years ago, people were freaking out. Oh my gosh, electricity is coming for our manufacturing jobs. Yes, it should.
I know that people hate when I say this, but like ChatGPT as it stands and as it hopefully will stay, it's just a TI-83,
yeah.
Yeah, TI-83 calculator. It's like it's going to only do what you put in and put out of it. And I mean, if it turns into something other than that, then God help us all. But as long as it stays as just a tool calculator, we're all good to go there. Let's talk about. I want to talk about your podcast. Tell me
over the rainbow. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So Across the Pond is actually the kind of the grandchild, stepsister, I don't know, adoptive, whatever, of what was Other Side of Sales. I met Evan Patterson, my partner in crime, when we were working on that together. And when that died, we were like, we still want it. We just enjoy hanging out together. He's a good friend of mine. He's a brilliant social marketer. And so we decided to come up with Across the Pond and Over the Rainbow. And the name is literally us. I'm across the pond and he's over the rainbow. And it's a labor of love for the two of us, where we try to just have the conversations and laugh at ourselves. And very similar to kind of, I think, what you're trying to do here, which is let's just have the conversations we wish someone had with us years ago. Let's remind ourselves that what we're doing, that it is normal to have an insane reaction to an insane situation. And if you're trying to do this work, you were in a lot of insane situations. So we're all fine. Well, we're not fine, but we're fine.
We're not fine, but we're fine. Yeah. Unfortunately, many sessions of therapy later, and figured out all I had to do was open up a podcast. So we're good to go there.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, we are big fans of therapy and bringing up lessons from. That should be our new opener. Instead of we open up the podcast pretty regularly with a are you a good person or do you blank? Yeah. So like Evan did one a few months ago that was like, are you a good person or do you like sour cream? And I was like, heck yeah, put that on some borscht. It's beautiful. And he's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, this is the sort of, really hard hitting entrepreneurial revenue focused content we do. But it's laughing at stuff like that and then bringing that over to kind of everything else where it's like, look, we're all in this together. It's all a little crazy and it's all in good fun. It's fine.
Well, it's one of those things too, where for us, and this is not a complaint of like, I'm approaching 40 and I'm bugging out, but it's probably one of those times as I'm looking back in my life, when you hit that 20-year mark where you're saying, I've been doing this for 20 years, then you're like, you start to wonder. And I started talking to people like this, and I appreciate your philosophy and your perspective as well, because we got sucked into the Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur magazine, all those different things.
40 under 40 and this.
Hey, I was one of them. And then it was, you realize it was all this scam. It was a scam to get the ad dollars, and it was all this polished scam to get all of us to believe in something that we did and we're doing, but it was not what they said it was. And I think that what I feel for is the people that had great ideas but didn't have the ability to go past that second and third hurdle and that fourth hurdle or that year 5. I feel for all of them, because that's, whether it was financial or it was just motivation or burnout or whatever it is, confidence, that's the thing that just really getting raw about it for a second is a lot of people don't realize. And I think for you, it's interesting as well to like you're a very principled person. So I think that one of those things is like, how do you manage that when with your emotion and your professional nature with continuing to be authentic and genuine?
A few different things. One of which was I got some very, very good advice from my dad very early on in my career, which I think saved me a lot of heartache. Which I was working at a company, and they were everyone there was so brilliant, just painfully brilliant people. It was deeply intimidating, actually, as someone in her, fresh in her sales career, early 20s. I was in awe of everyone around me. And they just kept making dumb decisions. And I'm like, I mean, maybe I don't understand. And I was kind of driving myself a little bit crazy, because I was like, no, this doesn't make sense. I know this doesn't make sense, but they're brilliant. So why would they make these dumb decisions? And I was talking to my dad about this, and my dad's been in tech since the 80s. So I'm a tech baby, nice. Which was great, because then I got into tech a little bit later than most. I worked in another field for a few years before I came into tech, because I refused to be like my dad. And then I got broke, and my dad got sick of me asking for money and said, sweetie, suck it up. You live in Santa Clara. But he said, look, the valley is littered with people with brilliant ideas. And a brilliant idea isn't enough. It's that simple. A brilliant idea is not enough. You need to have a brilliant idea. You need to have proper execution, and you need to get lucky. That's what makes a successful company. And you can't get 2 of the 3. You have to get all 3. So, and there is a lot of that is inherently incredibly unfair, and makes luck much harder to get, especially if you are woman, person of color, a member of the LGBTQ community, any sort of minority. It gets exponentially harder. The luck is exponentially harder to find. And that's where it sucks. That's one of the reasons why I am a little bit more vocal, because I can't fix it. But if I can start, I recognize that because of the color of my skin, because of the value of my education, because I came up in a middle-class background, that I still work my butt off in college? Yes. But was I able to go to college? Yes. Mm-hmm. I speak well because I was well educated, because I was brought up properly in a household with parents that loved me, that challenged me and got me into the right places. So it is my responsibility, as part of how they raised me, to also use that voice to say, hey, we got problems, because there are going to be people who will listen to me who might not listen to my Black friend, who might not listen to my gay friend, who might not listen to my transgender sister or brother, all these other things. So that was something that also I thought and talked a lot about in 2020, when we were all having these conversations. So that's something that's very big for me. And what's interesting is leaning into being principled has brought me a lot more business than you'd think.
That was going to be what I was going to say next. That's kind of what I'm getting at is we don't have to do the bullshit anymore, and it's like, and it's one of those things like, it seems like our, the generation we grew up in, and it was a bit of, for you, it was probably more with your dad working in tech, more tech than mine, but it was a balance of analog and tech. You know what I mean? Where I got to see both sides, and I got to see what that meant, both the good and the bad. And with that, also seeing how that affects things culturally, and seeing things from a cultural standpoint. And then it's funny, I had a plan of I was going to go drive around the state of Pennsylvania in a camper van and take this podcast on the road. And I was just going to go around and interview all these people and all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I stopped something happened at home, and I needed to be back at home with the kids. And it was like, all right, you need one day. So I paused and canceled one thing. But in that pause, I took a breath, and I was like, okay, you know what? This was an emotional idea. It was something that timing wise worked out. I had a week off, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, it turned into, canceling that and being like, okay, you know what? There's a unique trait that you have and a unique skill that you have, and it's connecting with people at an emotional level with, like, for example, Ashleigh, you and I are 41 minutes together remotely on a Zoom call in completely different time zones and continents, and we're connecting on an emotional level. I have a skill, and that is it. And driving around the state with a camper van, anybody can do that with a camera and do it, can grab people on the street and interview them, or go and it's a shtick. And I immediately caught myself in that moment that I had to come back for the kids, came back and I said, you know what? I'm just doing the same bullshit shtick I was always doing. And it's like, go back to myself, go back to my genuine thing and say, what is your unique skill? What do you set you apart? And it was maintaining this. So we're talking about right here. So it was like, and I can, now I'm looking at it like, okay, I can talk to people in different time zones now. I'm not inhibited by the drive times, and all of a sudden trying to like pivoting the project into a different degree.
Yeah. And that's something that it's interesting you mentioned kind of the emotional connection too, because that's actually what I try to do with sales leaders, is teach them how to teach their sales teams to do that. You know, it doesn't matter introvert, extrovert, background, education, anything. It's who has that inherent drive to create those emotional connections. If you can create those emotional connections and then learn how to do that at scale, you'll have sales. Now, are there tools? Is there strategy? Are there a million tiny details that can derail it? Absolutely. But the founders that I work with understand that their company's success is tied to building those emotional connections. So everything comes back to, what can we do to supercharge this? What can we do to get more time, FaceTime connecting with people versus, you know, doing a bunch of email? Do we still do a lot of email? Oh, heck yes. It's a completely valid and useful way to reach people who need to gatekeep themselves, which is valid. It's fine. But again, you're really leaning into kind of what makes each seller unique, each product unique, each company culture unique, and then surfacing all of that as much as humanly possible. That's where you can get some really cool things done very quickly, especially when you're dealing with smaller companies, which is a lot of what I deal with. So
it's exciting to see that, you know, with the smaller companies that are able to be a little bit more pivot and a little bit more customized. It's exciting to see us breaking that kind of the Wizard of Oz, you know, type of thing, where it's like, this is my professional Nate and this is my personal Nate, and these are two different people and we never cross paths, you know. And that whole personality was like, you know, we all grew up that way, you know, we were all trained in that way. And it's I don't understand.
When I started tearing down that wall, it was freaking terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Like when I started getting more active and being more honest with that, and every creator I know went through this. At least I'm gonna say every millennial creator I know went through this. Because we all had this drilled into our heads. It's personal and work, and you keep work and home life separate. And the first time I heard someone tell me they didn't believe in work-life balance because we're the same person the whole time, my immediate reaction was, no, that's unhealthy. You can't do that. And now I'm like, okay, well, she was saying it for the wrong reason. But it's true. I am the same person at work that I am at home. However, my home life is the priority. I work for my home life. So the same way now, it's like I hear someone say, oh, we're a family here. I'm like, that's so cute. That is so 2020. That's so 2010. That's adorable. Please don't say that again. You don't need to.
I can't.
We're better than this. Now let's just code for this will be an abusive, toxic work environment where you won't be allowed to leave.
Yes, I could spend hours on that thing. And with that said, another unique skill that I believe, based on seeing only what I've seen on LinkedIn, and I've not looked at anything else online other than LinkedIn. I'm going to take a jump and say that you, and I always tell people I'm out there good, bad, and ugly if you Google me as well. But I'm going to say that you're really good in organized chaos. Is that a far stretch for me, or is that where you excel?
Let's put it this way. This looks very nice behind me. That camera is positioned very strategically. There are boxers on the floor. There's a sheet that's drying right there. There are dogs. There's 3 different notebooks and about 15 stickies, 3 cups, one of which is still half full, makeup, a bunch of letters, Band-Aids. I don't know why there are Band-Aids on my desk.
I'm isolating this clip so my wife can hear and I can be validated.
Oh yeah, no, it's very real. The organized chaos is very real. And I'll say that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get Asana going, is when there are 4 clients, it's great. I can handle that in my head. More than that's like, nope, this needs to go. I need some backups here and there. And trying to figure out what the right backups are too. So I've looked at using virtual assistants and stuff like that. That's not a good fit. I'm trying to figure out how to integrate technology, still trying to figure out what the right balance of that is. And some of it's just being a little more rigorous with myself. So for example, there's I figured out this winter what my limit of organized chaos is. Right. So one of the things that needed to get a lot better was general housekeeping. And that's something that my brain could not handle. So one of the things we're like, okay, we need to get a housekeeper again, regularly. Like it's because my brain can't handle it. And when that's not right, we're both stressed out. And then our marriage is.
There's a value to that. There's a value to that,
Yeah. So it's thinking through, and that's going to look different for everybody. Some people, like I posted last week about, I went through because Google started yelling at me that I'd used up too much storage. So I went through and I did a backup, and then I went through and I cleaned out my inbox and I deleted 17,000 emails, which was fun. And some people are like, oh my gosh, it must feel so good to be at inbox zero. I'm like, who said anything about inbox zero? I think I still have about 80,000.
Exactly. But all my other domains I got to go to as well.
Oh, this is just the one domain.
See,
I don't want to know.
You got me there,
I don't pay for storage on the other ones, so I don't care. But yeah, I'm definitely one of those, like, I'm a bit of a compulsive hoarder when it comes to receipts, and like my Gmail has all the tags, and I keep everything because part of being I think also part of being a woman in corporate was that it was drilled into my head, you document everything. So.
And that's one of the things that's my Achilles heel as an entrepreneur has been the documentation of things, and not even from a CYA standpoint, but just from a looking back standpoint. I wish that, in a reflection standpoint, looking back the past 20 years, I wish that I had documented more things instead of being so creative and impulsive and stuff like that, and not recording it. And living, you lived in the moment, and you did what you did and stuff like that. But I look back and I'm like, man, I could have written a book twice now had I just kept a journal.
Yeah, first where I'm on the opposite. I'm like, I am not writing no book. I do not have the time or energy. It would never get printed.
I didn't mean write it. I meant I'd take my journal to somebody and let them write it.
Yeah, let someone turn this into something legible. Yeah, I actually journal pretty compulsively, so I probably could, but I won't, because it's also the way I journal is also stream of consciousness. That's really therapeutic for me. So it's also borderline incomprehensible when I read it back.
Certain connected dots shouldn't be connected.
Oh, I found one page that was literally an entire run-on sentence. That I was like, what was I okay. Apparently that was
I'm with you. I have volumes and volumes of these.
Oh, you can see, I don't know if you can see, let's see if I point. Yeah, I can see that the rainbow, right? Oh, those just off camera, it's just right there, but there's a rainbow of 15 or 20 moleskins, and that's just 2 years.
That's mine, moleskins as well. Yep. Perfect.
The moleskins or the lick the.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, well, you're a moleskin too. I just got a lick term. Oh, that's over here. That's this one. I don't have too many notebooks. What are you talking about? No, you're also moleskin. One of you is a lick term. I know it is, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what the one I got recently was $4.99, and I bought 20 of them. So I've been using those for a while now. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely paying 15 to 20, but I get I'm sorry, but look at this. It's a fabric cover, and it's borderline shiny. It's so pretty. Oh yeah, I'm a absolute sucker for a bright, shiny moleskin.
I love it, and I'm
non-spawn, but would not be mad about it.
And then I'm left-handed, so I'm also very much like that with pens, because I will streak all over everything. So it has to be the right paper, the right ink. So it's very much an overthought for my. It's nice.
Oh yeah, no, I'm neurotic about the pens. It has to be I love these. They're the Papermate Inkjoy 0.7s. I like a thicker tip. Get your mind out of the gutter. But then and then there's what's the other one I used to use forever? Here, the Pilot G2s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are the ones I use.
I'm the fine print as much as possible. So I'm the Uniball Vision Elite is my go-to.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because left-handed, I like seeing some thickness to my penmanship. So that makes sense. But it definitely would. If I were left-handed, it'd smear all over the place. It still smears on the other page. So
has to be quick, guy. Well, hey, I had one last question for you. One's kind of funny. So I'm one of these people. I'm going to selfishly, shamelessly, whatever you want to say, that different points in my life, I felt like I never needed sales training ever again. All right, I felt like I was good to go. What are some of the number one hurdles male, female, gender doesn't even matter, that are the hurdles to people opening their mind to continuing education and sales?
It's a really good. I'm going to come back to a quote that actually was the opening quote of the movie. Oh God, what was the name of that movie that was about the housing market crash? The Big Short.
The Big Short, yeah.
There's a really great quote from Mark Twain, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but it's not the things that you don't know that will kill you. It's the things you know for sure that just ain't so.
Nice.
And especially in sales where things move quickly, but not so quickly you can't catch up. The moment you think you've got it, you might have it. But if you're not actively preparing for the day that you don't, it's going to knock you on your butt. And in sales, that usually comes in the form of a job loss. It will knock you on your butt, and it will knock you on your butt hard. So that's the big thing for me, is like, look, it's the moment you might be safe. That's okay. But you always need to be just aware and looking so that you don't get knocked on your butt.
Ashleigh, thank you so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to this. I don't think this is the last conversation we're going to be having. I appreciate you being open to this conversation. I appreciate you being open to the experience. And I definitely, I can't say enough. Thank you so much. Let people, how they can reach you online, LinkedIn, social media, and everything like that to connect with you.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Just look for me, Ashleigh Early. Make sure you spell it the crazy way, ASHLEIGH. Early. My website will be up soon. I'm not sure where, but you can check out othersideofsales.com. You can also find me on Twitter occasionally at Ashleigh at Work, which is a very deep Star Trek reference. If anyone gets that, I'm always super chuffed. Those are probably the 3 best ways to find me. And when in doubt, feel free to drop me an email, Ashleigh at othersideofsales.com. Always happy to connect. I definitely believe in putting good out. Karma comes back. So if I can help in any way, reach out. If I can't help, I'll tell you no. I'll go Dutch. It happens.
That was going to be the last thing. Go Dutch. Nice. There you go. So, excellent. Ashleigh, thank you again so much. You enjoy the rest of your day. You take care.
You as well. We'll talk soon.
Reach new customers and increase your sales? If so, you need the FreeMind Group, founded in 2008 and a provider of creative and strategic solutions for the food and beverage industry. Whether you need branding, marketing, product development, or innovation, the FreeMind Group can help you achieve your goals and unleash your potential. Visit our website at thefreemindgroup.com and get a free consultation today. Thank you for listening. See you next time.